So usme my life just changed because I worked with a group of friends to help save lives, and after you've helped save your first life, your life just transforms. You can't go back to
Really?
normal. There's
Really?
some transformation that just occurs, huh? Like
Wow.
there's I can't even explain it to you. Like after the first emergency I dealt with, that was life threatening. I couldn't sleep the entire night, but I was simultaneously in a state of euphoria and in a state of this person could have passed away.
What is up, you guys, and welcome back to season three's first episode. This is episode number 101, and I couldn't be more honored to have our 101st guest, be Usama Javed Mirza. He used to be our high school teacher. He used to teach us first aid, and he's just been in a whole lot of different things ever since then. It's been over 8 years since Salman has talked to him. It's been over I think a year or two since I've last touched base with him. But yeah, it'll be really fun and interesting to catch up with this guy. Salman,
You
take over
know,
the plug, and
I
then we'll go from
think
there.
I think the perfect way for us to start off another set of
Yeah,
episodes is to talk to someone who we know but haven't spoken to in forever. And
yeah,
in this case, it's going to be really exciting because he's helped build this amazing
yeah.
organization that teaches basically first aid. It teaches people how to be medical first responders, and he has done so much. And seeing it grow over 8 years has been pretty crazy because there
Yeah.
was an idea there back when I first met you, and now to see where it's gone is crazy. But before I jump on and start asking you questions, guys, do hit the subscribe button, follow this podcast, like
Yeah.
it, share it if you find it
Guys, do all that.
interesting. If
Yeah.
you're here in a minute, that means we're probably doing a good job. But Osama, I've kind of described Saving Nine, but tell us a bit more about Saving Nine in your own words, as if you were trying to, give that elevator pitch to someone.
Saving Nine is all about teaching people how to save lives. In a nutshell, whether you are a 2 year
Yeah.
old or whether you're a 98-year-old, it's about teaching you how to, within your capacity, learn how to save a life.
Oh, sure.
Let me tell you a little bit about how we began. एक ज़माने में back a decade ago, I was studying at LUMS. I was majoring in physics, which is how I ended up at Head Start as a physics teacher as well. But
Yeah.
basically, while I was at LUMS, I actually got trained as a medical first responder from the university's emergency medical services department, which is entirely student run. So the way that works is that people on campus can get trained as first responders after taking a 3-month course that's at the same level as 1122's ambulance staff training. And then as a volunteer, you deal with emergencies on campus. So over
Wow.
3 years, I got to deal with over 250 emergencies on campus, and that included drug
Wow.
overdose cases, fractures, burns, ankle sprains, suicide attempts,
That's
you
it.
name it, everything. So usme my life just changed because I worked with a group of friends to help save lives, and after you've helped save your first life, your life just transforms. You can't go back to
Really?
normal. There's
Really?
some transformation that just occurs, huh? Like
Wow.
there's I can't even explain it to you. Like after the first emergency I dealt with, that was life threatening. I couldn't sleep the entire night, but I was simultaneously in a state of euphoria and in a state of this person could have passed away.
No way.
And
And you were there to save his life, like you or his or her life. Yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
that.
with my team, I was there, and it was one of the most meaningful things I've ever done in my life.
That's
So
impressive.
that feeling of helping someone changes you like nothing else. And so I was studying physics formally at LUMS, but at the same time, I became really, really passionate about
Yeah.
first aid. And in my last year at LUMS, I became head of training of that department. And that was where I would say my life really changed because I fell in love with teaching. I fell in love with helping students learn how to save lives. And
Yeah.
that's kind of where then a year later after I graduated from LUMS, I joined Head Start, and I loved teaching. And I
Wow.
decided high school students can learn how to save lives too.
That's
So
fucking cool.
let's
Yeah.
begin this medical first responder course on campus.
And
It
I
was
remember that
beautiful.
course. I remember
Fun
that course.
fact:
I wasn't. Wait,
I
wait.
was
You
one of
you.
the no. I played one of the like
Patience,
corpses. Like yeah, well,
lovely.
patience. I'm pretty sure like at the end I
Really?
was just a corpse because no one knew how to save a life back then.
Oh my
But
god.
I was one of those guys just lying down on the grass and like you'd explain like how to do different techniques and
Yeah, guys. I'll give you a little bit of context from my lens because I wasn't an active part of their group. It was like this after school thing. So I used to take art class. Art class used to happen after school between 2 to 4. So school used to end at 2. And then between 2 to 4, I'd have my art class because art class was very demanding and it required its own hours apparently. And between that time, 2 to 4, first aid classes used to take place. So whenever I used to be out of my art class eating chips or like, to having a drink, I used to see these bunch of weirdos just fucking dressed up as cast members, like with vests on, straight jackets. So I don't know what they had, what's that called? A stretcher, like moving around on stretchers and everything. And I used to just like see them doing drills all across the ground, all over campus and everything. And it was just a comical side because most of those people doing those things were my friends. So I used to be like, "Ye tum log kar kya rahe ho yaar? This is so funny." But like at the end of the day, seeing you grow from that point to having a full-fledged company where you're doing this on a much larger scale with the whole Masia ambulance network, and now you're in Pin Bhagwal as well. I think that's where you started off. I think you branched out ever since then as well. But like it's such an interesting transformation to see where 8 years can take you. Honestly speaking.
It really is. It just, when you jump into community service, it transforms your life if you let it.
Yeah.
अक्सर लोग कहते हैं कि how can you do community service, how can you work as a volunteer and at the same time, make a life out of it? How can you sustain yourself? And I think it is possible, and I'm trying to prove that it is possible. Like, after, because of, all this work I had done on first aid training, it built a really nice portfolio that got me into Columbia University on a full scholarship on the Fulbright program. And I studied at Columbia for 2 years, and I also got licensed as an emergency medical technician from New York State. And so when I came back in 2017, I'm like, now I'm going to do this for a living. So, that's when I launched Saving 9. And it began in my sister's home. My sister, she's someone who is an expert in human resource management, but she's seen a lot of Grey's Anatomy growing up. And she's like, Usama, you have this first aid training. Give it to me too. So I started training her in her house, and she started inviting her friends. I started inviting my friends. And before we knew it, we had a whole cohort of people who were, screaming in her house. And basically, that's how we bonded. And that was how the Saving 9 team was born. And one thing led to another. And we helped set up an ambulance system in rural Islamabad, in Pin Bhagwal, which is very, very close to Bharakahu. And now, alhamdulillah, it's been 2 years since that ambulance has been running. It's dealt with over 450 emergencies. And since then, we've also launched Pakistan's first entirely women-led and run ambulance. And nowadays are piloting the world's second and Asia's first mental health ambulance within Islamabad as well. So, it's just like you take this one step to do something that you're passionate about and to do community service, and doors open for you.
Yeah. Like Osama, straight up, there's this one thing that has really resonated with me. Like it's just like, commit first, figure the rest out later. Is that what you did? Like you just committed to a mission and then you just figured the rest out later. Like, you didn't overthink it. You just went with it and everything.
It's like what Game of Thrones mein kehte hain na, chaos is a ladder. Though Littlefinger meant it in a different manner, but I think it applies here. You don't know. Sometimes you have to make it up as you go along. But as long as your heart is in the right place and you can think on your feet, a lot of things can happen. So,
Exactly.
now finally, after 4 years, I'm in a position where I'm going to work on Saving 9 full time. And that's because, we've, alhamdulillah, come a very long way. And so now my own boss, and I'm working in an organization that, has that is completely aligned with what we want to do. And it's amazing, alhamdulillah, bahut maza aa raha hai. But it was quite a journey getting there. It was a lot of sacrifice. It was a lot of banging your head against the wall. It's like having a baby. It's like when the baby smiles, it's wonderful. When the baby is crying in the middle of the night, you need to change the diapers, you're like, what is my life? So I give this analogy to everyone that starting your own social enterprise is one of the most meaningful things you can do. But, it's like deciding to have a baby.
It's hard as
it's
shit.
like,
It's a long-term commitment.
Yeah.
Well, so you mentioned how doors open when you enter community service and when you dedicate yourself. But you've also mentioned the baby crying. What are some of the bigger obstacles or challenges, or have you ever had any oh crap moments where you realize that you need to fix a problem urgently?
Well, it's like that movie Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, at least the title. It's like every single day there is khushi and there is gum when you are, in this line of work. You will pull your hair several times a day thinking, oh my God, everything is going to finish now. And then at the same time, you'll be like, Alhamdulillah, we've found a way, we found a solution. Every single day is intense in its own way. But basically, for example, it took me 6 months to open a bank account for the company because they just wouldn't give me lift. They would just constantly, tell me this is a set of documents, now here's another set of documents, now here's another set of documents. The bank drove me crazy, and in the end, they lost my documents. So then I had to, use connections to open it in another bank because Varna, they would tell me that you need to go get your national tax number first, then we're going to allow you to open a bank account.
Yeah.
And when I would try to go get my national tax number from the FBR, they would tell me, no, you need to first open a bank account. Mashallah.
Yeah.
So it was a catch-22 situation.
Oh, man.
So that was one source of extreme annoyance. The other was trying to get the company registered with the Securities Exchange Commission of Pakistan. Again, every time I would go, they would tell me, here's a new set of documents. And their website used to only work with Internet Explorer 5, which no one has.
Wow.
And their website was completely out of date. So, unless you make puppy dog eyes and you go to them, you're like, sir, please kara de.
Yeah.
And, wo nahi karate the us zamane mein. So, yeah, that was a significant source of stress. The other was obviously financing in the beginning, right? Because I didn't ask for any investment or seed funding. I just began with no money. I just began as a volunteer organization. This is me doing this for free, providing this training to my friends and family in my sister's house. And, then eventually what happened was I started pumping my own salary into the company. I was working as an educator and as an education consultant in Islamabad, and I would pump all my money into my company in the hope that this is going to grow. And I did that for quite a while. And, then business began to pick up. We began to do first aid trainings in schools like Head Start and Westminster. And then we started getting projects. For example, we've been funded by Harvard University, Columbia University, and the United States Institute of Peace. And this has finally created the cash flow situation that now we're able to, bring a lot of people full time, including myself. So it's quite a jump. It's quite a transition. But
that is
वही बात है कि you have to not give up. You have to believe in it. And, दूसरी बात है कि a lot of people will ask you, what are you doing with your life? I have, alhamdulillah, an extremely, extremely supportive family. Without my mother and father telling me, go ahead with it. And without, my wife telling me, you can do this. And without my father-in-law saying, it's okay if you don't have this sorted out. I really appreciate it. You go and you launch your enterprise, even if you're not doing a 9 to 5. Without all of that, it would have been so much harder. लेकिन हाँ, लाइक अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह. बट मतलब कि जनरली लोग पूछते हैं ना कि क्या कर रहे हो अपनी ज़िंदगी के साथ. अच्छा ठीक है, ये काम क्या कर रहे हो, इसमें किससे पैसे आप कितने के पैसे आप कमा रहे हैं. अच्छा ठीक है, आपकी लॉन्ग टर्म स्ट्रैटेजी क्या है, आपका ऑफिस स्पेस है, आपका ये है, आपका वो है, ये सारी चीज़ें वो पूछते हैं. तो it's been quite a journey, but I'm really grateful, and now I'm in a position where things are much, much better off. But if you're going to start a social enterprise, be ready to prepare for at least 4 to 5 years of insanity.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Now this is where I have to ask you. What's your next 10-year plan? 10-year vision with the company?
My next 10-year plan with the company is that what we really envision doing is जो हम चीजें कर रहे हैं ना, for example, launching a mental health ambulance, launching a women-led ambulance, all this innovation that we're doing. It's my dream that this spreads across Pakistan and beyond. Right? We don't need to have the world's largest ambulance system. What we want is that other ambulance systems learn from what we have learned and spread those innovations in their systems. That would be amazing. So for example, if we're creating a system about how to help patients with psychological emergencies that's non-existent in Pakistan. So maybe other entities like ED, Rescue 1122 can learn from our experience. It can build that capacity as well, and that will just exponentially help save lives. So that's kind of my vision, that in the next 10 years, a lot of the work we've done has gained traction and has changed the culture around these things in different emergency response systems. That's my dream. And then obviously expanding the work we're doing beyond Pakistan as well, inshallah.
That is really cool. I have a question. So this is a great enterprise. You've obviously you've solved a lot of problems, and I'm sure you've seen a lot more. If, say, one day someone was to swoop in and say, hey, I can take care of Saving 9 and grow it the way you wanted me to grow, the way you want it to grow, and it gave you a chance to do something else with your life, what would you do? What's another social problem you might want to tackle? What would be your next enterprise if you were to successfully move on to something new?
It's like raising a baby, as I said. Now, if your baby has become a teenager or has become, a young adult who can now sustain him or herself, wonderful. This allows me to focus on other passions while at the same time remaining in touch with my baby always.
Yeah.
Right,
But
yeah.
in terms of other passions, I would really like to get a PhD. But beyond that, what I would really like to do is work
Set up a
on,
dual masters.
reforming.
Set up a dual masters
Yes.
network within
Se-
Pakistan.
Oh
A
my
full
God.
fledged, like, this is what he's gonna be working on. When Usama Javed is a millionaire, a multi-millionaire, when he can focus on anything in life without any worries, he's gonna build an entire dual masters national network where people are just from all over the country, and hopefully the world are just gonna come to one place and just battle it out. Am I right, Usama?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm super, 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 like into Duel Masters, and I love a good vicious battle with anyone. And, I used to battle Saad back in Head Start when I was a
Back in
teacher,
the
and he
day.
was really good.
He used to kick my
Duel
ass,
Master
guys.
tournaments, anime sessions, उसके अलावा lots and lots of video games from the 90s SmackDown tournaments. मैं चाहता हूँ ये सब कुछ जो है ना spread हो जाए. So this is definitely one of my fantasies is to have a really, really, really big shop with a lot of books and a lot of video games and a lot of food and a
Yeah.
lot of comfy sofas. And, have like an insane amount of tournaments that happen there. This is going to happen one day, inshallah.
Dude, yeah.
That's something
Huh.
I'd support you in. That's something I'd love to do. Like a little
That's something
cafe
I'd come in. Yeah.
with like books, maybe like some social stuff too.
Not a cafe, not a little cafe. I'm thinking more like, the metro, like a really, really, really big space.
Okay.
Or like a community hub. Like it's like so big you can't even imagine it. And it's just filled with lots and lots of cozy furniture and books and video
Yeah.
games and people doing, things like playing Duel Masters. It'll happen one day, inshallah.
It will happen. It will.
For
Will it
sure.
be within Pakistan, outside of Pakistan? Where would you like want it to
In
be?
Pakistan, we have so
Yes,
many people
yeah.
in Pakistan who would want this. In
Yeah.
Pakistan, in Islamabad.
I mean, it should be no more than a 10-minute drive from wherever you are because, that's something you'd want to enjoy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
But
So, yeah.
Usama, I also want to dive into the whole general क्या कहते हैं, your academic journey as well, because you're very academically accomplished as well. Like because you're going to be more academically accomplished than I will ever be, because I'm giving up after bachelor's. My formal education is almost done. I'm done with this shit. You've done a master's from Columbia, I believe, and everything. How was that experience like? Like generally, the whole transition from LUMS from Head Start to LUMS to Columbia. How was that entire academic journey? But now you want to do a PhD. Why do you want to do a PhD?
It's a bit of a make it up as you go along, actually. मतलब कि I've always been really passionate about science, and I loved studying physics, and I studied philosophy and physics at LUMS, and बहुत मजा आया. But then,
Yeah.
as you're saying, you've left the academic field because you're so passionate about working in the real world, right?
Yeah.
I had a bit of that. I'm like, चले ये academic abstract काम मुझे बहुत पसंद है, लेकिन I want to do something. I've got so much privilege.
Yeah.
I can't just sit around and think all day. I want to do something with it, which is why I jumped into the field in teaching and in, creating this community service work. Then I did my master's in education with a focus in curriculum and teaching at Columbia. I graduated valedictorian. And what made me so passionate about it was the fact that, I was able to think about a lot of things. For example, my thesis at Columbia was on how people are brainwashed to science education. For example, if you ever open a science book, you will find
Yeah.
pictures of white males. That's it.
Yeah.
You find Newton, Einstein, Galileo, etc. European white men. That's it. Kabhi kabar Marie Curie ka zikr hoga. That's it. So
Okay.
what is missing is the narrative about the rest of the world that has contributed to science. You end up believing that everything in the world was created by Europeans, which is not true. Or for example, in these books, you will find a lot of nonsense about how, science and religion have always been opposed to each other. They'll tell you this little story about Galileo and the church, which is not entirely true. It was much more complex than that. And they'll, frame it in this rationality versus traditionalism narrative, which is also not true. So, what ends up happening is that as you are studying science, you are developing a certain subconscious narrative about the way the world works that actually ends up causing your mindset to become colonized. You're actually mentally being colonized as you're studying science within Pakistan and abroad. Because
wow.
you don't, I mean, how many people in Pakistan talk about Abdul Salam, our only Nobel Prize winner in
Very
physics?
few. Very few.
Very few,
Very
because there's a
Yeah.
stigma around it, because he was an Ahmadi.
Yeah.
Right? But we don't
Yeah.
even want to talk about it. And that's shocking,
Exactly.
because he's such a source of inspiration for Pakistanis. We have a Nobel Prize winner in physics.
Exactly.
So this is what I was really passionate about in my thesis, and I was like, how can we reimagine science education in a way that decolonizes it and turns it into something that everyone feels they can be a part of, women and people of color. So
Wow.
I'm really, really passionate about this kind of stuff, and I've actually, in
Yeah.
parallel to Saving Nine, done a lot of work on education policy in Pakistan and
Yeah.
teacher training across Punjab on revitalizing science education, this sort of thing. So this is something I want to ultimately perhaps do my PhD in. I'm trying to figure out a topic nowadays, but
Ooh.
yeah, let's see where it goes.
That's
Sounds
really
Except,
cool.
exciting.
I feel that you shouldn't be put in one box. You can have different passions, different interests. All of them don't have to completely connect with each other, and that's okay. Just see where life takes you.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm really
mean,
passionate about science education, really passionate about philosophy, and I love
Yeah.
teaching people how to save lives through first aid.
that is
That's
super
important.
cool. I mean, from the first 30 seconds of you describing Saving Nine, you did two things. One, you convinced me to invest any money I might have had if I was an investor in your corporation. And two, you just set up the most amazing superhero origin story that I've heard in a while. So, you seem to know what you want to do and why you do it, and that I feel like that's a recipe for success no matter what you end up doing.
Dude, I'm so happy for you, Sama. Straight up, like I have seen this journey from my own lens for like the past 8 years. I've seen this happen as well, and it's been just so impressive and so inspirational. And I will definitely take away a few tidbits from this conversation and apply them into my own life.
Thank you very much for your kind words. I do want to say that, us entrepreneurs are very used to projecting this image of success, that, everything is just like zoom. But I really want to convey that, there's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of uncertainty,
Yeah.
there's a lot of mental
Lot of-
stress, there's a lot of limbo, there's a lot of hayala, what am I doing with my life, that is behind the scenes. Just like with everyone.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I just want to say that, it's really important that if you're going to set yourself on a journey, we believe in creating everyday heroes. Everyone can be a hero in their own capacity, but to do that, you have to, a hero always wants to inspire confidence, want to make other people feel that, they are that everything is going to be under control. But under se hero jo no kampra hota hai. So
Yeah.
it's important to remember that as much as we project on ourselves on social media and whatnot as being super super successful and
Yeah.
a narrative like this, there
We
is
just skip over the
a lot of
failures. We just look
there's a
over the
lot of
failures,
complexity behind it, and everyone should feel encouraged that you can make mistakes. I almost dropped out of LUMS at one point, by the way. Like I had an F in a course and my GPA was gisafying. So and I've been rejected by almost every university I've ever applied to before Columbia happened.
Wow.
So and for a long time, Saving Nine was not earning money, and I wasn't getting funding. And then COVID happened. So एक narrative बन जाता है, and alhamdulillah, it is a success story. It's a beautiful success story, and I'm
Yeah.
very, very grateful that I lived it. But I assure you that life is a lot more complex and rough, and I want to share that message with everyone, that don't believe everything you see on social media, but at the same time, believe in the hope. Believe in that you can ultimately achieve that end, and you have to work hard towards it, and it is okay
Yeah.
if things are not sexy in the moment, and
Yeah.
you are struggling and you're banging your head against the wall. That is part of the
100%.
experience.
100%.
I think
And
that's
on that
very
bombshell.
honest, very
And
true.
on that bombshell, guys, this is the biggest bomb that has been dropped this entire conversation. On that bombshell, I think we're done with today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're 23
This was
minutes
great.
in. This was fun. Salman, any last words?
I actually have another question for you, but I'm gonna ask it off the podcast because
Yeah.
we'll keep that one casual. Thank you
Yeah.
everyone who's tuned in. If anyone's still here, and I hope you subscribe. If I've taken
Yeah.
up 23 minutes of your time, I'm assuming you like me enough to follow me. But anyway,
For God's sake, Salman,
thanks
we're
thanks
done.
for sticking around, guys. We'll
Peace.
catch you all later.
Adios. Goodbye. All right.
Thank you. Take